When you get into reading mythology, you don't really have to worry about finding sexual stories because it's literally all over the place. Talk about the Olympians who would never stop fucking, and the ones that miraculously weren't having sex managed by watching others do it. Yeah, not creepy, remember? They are gods. And we all know Zeus, who had sex with basically anything that breathes or doesn't. This sparks a question, a really fair one. What were the craziest sexual stories from mythologies? And this is what we want to answer today. But before we start, we would like to thank Ada Ann Colvin for subscribing to our membership. If you also want to become part of our members-only community and enjoy special content, make sure to click on the subscription button. Now, on to sex. The top 10 stories of weird, complicated, and amazing sex stories compilation that took place in ancient mythology in this video of ours will surely blow your mind and keep you wanting more. After all, who doesn't like to boink? Be it consensual or non-consensual. Right, Zeus? Number 10. Sartor Pan. This guy might have rebuilt a reputation in modern pop culture, but originally he is a monster. More than a trickster, he was known to seduce women and animals who made the mistake of lingering anywhere near him. And just for reference purposes, here when we say seduce, it means rape. Unfortunately, a beautiful nymph Syrinx had the misfortune to catch his attention. She kept rejecting him repeatedly, but the half-goat and half-man creature won't budge. Eventually, the nymph thought she had a great idea and asked the local river god to turn her temporarily into a bunch of river reeds so that Pan would leave her alone. But this sex maniac cut out the bunch of reeds and converted them into flutes so that his lips would touch her every time and he'd be able to kiss her. I had no clue why he had to convert her into a flute instead, but he could just make out with reeds the way it was. But you do you. So yeah. Number 9. Ratty. Ratty is known as the goddess of pleasure and the wife of Kamadev, the god of love in Indian mythology. These two play a large role in love and lust in Hinduism. Different sources claim different stories about her, but the most famous one is about her being the daughter of Brahma, who is the god of creation. It was so believed that Ratty was the daughter of Brahma, and she was so beautiful and desirable that her father lusted over her, and she was the reason for the suicide that he committed. Soon after, she died because of the trauma as well. Number 8. Ephus and Inanna. This must be one of the most subtle stories among all today. It is the story of not just lust, but love as well. There was once a man who wanted sons so badly that he would threaten to kill any girls that his wife bore. Afraid for the life of her daughter, she pretended to give birth to a son. I have no idea how he never found out about this, but okay. She was named as Ephus by her father and raised as a man. When the time came for Ephus to get married, her father picked up a wife for her named Inanna. It was love at first sight for both. Insanely love. Ephus was worried about the consequences she'd have to bear with when Inanna would discover the truth about their marriage. She prayed for her situation to be fixed, and so did her mother for her daughter's safety. On the day of the marriage, she woke up as a female. Devastated and having nowhere to go, she accepted her fate. But as she was walking down the aisle, the prayers of her mother were answered, and she was converted into a man. Inanna and Ephus led a happy life. Number 7. Inanna. Inanna was known as the ancient Sumerian goddess of sex, war, and fertility. She was once raped by a lowly gardener while she was asleep under this poplar tree. In a fit of rage, she turned the rivers bloody, covered the earth with storms, and tormented mankind with diseases. Eventually, she found the gardener and killed him. She tended to kill her lovers or sacrifice them, and because of that, she was rejected by King Gilgamesh. Obviously, her response to rejection was violent, and she sent a bull from heaven to kill the king, who killed the bull instead. For the funeral of the bull, as she traveled to heaven, with each passing gate, she was asked to strip for her sin and eventually entered naked and had the audacity to sit on Ereshkigal's throne, for which she was turned into a corpse and hung upside down. Number 6. Sheila na gigs. Sheila na gigs literally means the breasts of an old hag in Ireland and Britain. It depicts a stone figure of a woman with exposed and exaggerated vulva. Popular myths claim that this lustful pagan goddess threw herself at every man by exposing her genitals. Most men rejected the old hag, but the rare ones who accepted, for them she converted into a beautiful woman and provided kingship to the lucky one. One theory attributes her to the pagan practice of anasirma, in which women lifted up their skirts to scare off evil spirits. This suggests that Sheila was a protector against evil as well. Her figurines were used at birth and wedding, as she is also known as the goddess of fertility. Number 5. Sekmet. This Egyptian goddess was also known as the Eye of Ra, or his daughter who was birthed as a goddess of war and to punish humans for the sins that they committed. Her goal was to punish, but soon she became completely bloodthirsty and couldn't stop herself. Ra got her drunk and she fell asleep. The next day when she woke up, she completely forgot about her goal in her scavenger hunt for the destruction of mankind. The catch here is that it is believed that Ra awarded Sekmet for her work, but also was pissed at her because of the tantrums that she threw, and to cheer her father up she performed a striptease for Ra. Jeez. Number 4. Isis. This Egyptian goddess was married to her brother Osiris, who was lord of the underworld. Osiris warred with his brother Set, who killed him, sliced his body into 14 pieces, and scattered the pieces across Egypt. The grief-stricken Isis scoured the country to retrieve the pieces, but there was one piece she couldn't find. Apparently, Osiris's reproductive organs had been swallowed by a fish. Isis used her magic to rebuild Osiris's body. In place of his genitals, she used a golden phallus. Isis imbued Osiris with temporary life and had sex with his gold-augmented corpse. Osiris died again soon after, and the necrophile goddess gave birth to Horus. Isis had to protect Horus from Set until he was old enough to claim power by defeating his uncle. Number 3. Aphrodite and Hermes. The oversexed deity Hermes fell in love with, Aphrodite, the prince of Crete. She was spotted by Hermes, who started chasing her even after she rejected him. She was, however, much faster and managed to elude the trickster. But Hermes, being a psychopomp filled with wickedness, hid on a pathway where he knew Aphrodite would pass through to bathe in a river nearby. And when she appeared, Hermes caught hold of her and had his way, impregnating her. When she returned home, her brother wouldn't believe that she was impregnated by a god, as she was a mortal girl, and he kicked her to death. Number 2. Poseidon and Demeter. These two were siblings and the children of the deities Rhea and Cronus. Poseidon attempted to sleep with her sister Demeter after the war against the Titans. She tried avoiding him by transforming into a mare and hiding with a group of horses on an island. But hungry Poseidon identified her and converted into a horse and raped her. From their union, they had 2 children, and it was believed that one of them was actually a horse named Arion, which belonged later to the legendary Hercules. And number 1, Athena and Hephaestus. Hephaestus was a deformed and ugly blacksmith whose parentage is still debatable. But the main point here is that he was married to Aphrodite. And this guy attempted to rape the virgin goddess Athena and failed miserably. But it is believed that his semen fell on the earth, or we can say goddess Gaia, and a child sprang out from her. She obviously didn't want to accept the child as it was against her will. But Athena fostered the child and weirdly had no problem with Hephaestus and his rape attempt. We still have no idea why the stories of gods tend to confuse rape and seduction, and why they do not get the fact that no means no. Yet, who can stop the one who has the ultimate power? Most of these stories are loathsome, but who can change the past now? Share your thoughts on them in the comments below, and also much more stories if you know any. We'll see you next time. Until then, stay mythical.